Hey everyone, this is Eran Stern for Artbeats.com, and this time we are going to take a break. Actually, it's going to be a breakout coffee. Yes, I know we all deserve one. We've worked so hard during the last year and the last month, and why won't we take a little break and enjoy our special coffee here?
Try our breakout coffee, the best. Take a break now.
So this is what we are going to do today. We're going to take a simple shot of a coffee, replace the mag tag, and then insert some jumping happy people over here and create our tag, and of course some color correction and lots of other things. There's going to be a lot of tips and tricks here. It's quite simple and fun, but there is a few catches here and there, so hopefully you will learn some new things. So without further ado, let's get started. Our first shot will be this one, the RDH FH101-29. We are going to drag it to its new comp, and first let's just play to see what it is. There are a few seconds at the beginning which we need to trim, and then the hand is coming in and saying, well, I love you. And don't get me wrong, I do love you, but we want to clean this and replace it with a white cap and then insert our new graphics on top of it. So first we need to trim this video and maybe stabilize it a little bit due to the fact that this shot is a little bit shaky due to this man tapping on his keyboard. Okay, so since this is quite simple one to stabilize, I'm just going to identify the place where we need to start it. I think somewhere around here. And I'm going to right click on the shot, and instead of stabilize motion, I'm just going to use the old method of stabilizing footage inside After Effects. So I'm going to choose track motion from here, and then in the track type, instead of transform, we will choose here stabilize. So this will actually stabilize the shot without the warp stabilizer. This is exactly what we need here. So let's just zoom in inside, find ourselves a nice contrast point, say maybe somewhere around here, and I think this will do. Zoom out once again and just press analyze, just in order for After Effects to analyze the shot from here until the end. Now when we have this information, let's click here apply and press OK. Now back in our comp view, let's just make sure that we have what we need and we have a tracked and stabilized shot. Now we need to trim it because there is nothing going on here. So let's just start from maybe here. I'm going to change my beginning area here and just right click on it and say trim comp to work area. I'm also going to dismiss the tracker window since we don't need it anymore. Let's just also close it and press Command K, and I want to change the dimensions here because my delivery here will be 1280 by 720, and press OK. Now let's go here, press S and just scale it down, making sure we have enough video due to the little movement of the stabilizer. So nothing is being cropped, and I think this is it. So we are ready now. This will be our main shot. I'm going to name this composition Breakout Coffee, and actually I'm going to render this clip because I want to bring it inside Mocha and do the hard part, which is this tracking over here. Then we will go to Photoshop and clean this, prepare ourselves a nice white cap. So first let's go under composition, save frame as file. Make sure that you are using the best setting for your freeze file. A Photoshop file format will be great, and let's just make sure that we will name this as our reference, so we'll know that this happens at 4 seconds and 15 frames. I'm going to save it on my desktop and press render. Now we need also to render the whole clip, so once again I'm going to go to the composition, add this to my render queue, and just make sure that I'm going to choose a good format which will not harm this footage. So I'm going to go with the Apple ProRes for now. Press OK here. We don't need any audio, and we can render this as a new clip. Once the render has been finished, we can close the render queue and import the clip. So let's double click here, just import this frame and press open. And this will be our new background, so we can actually hide the one below, since this will be the one that we are going to work with. Alright, so now let's quickly move to Photoshop, prepare the clean plate. This should be a very easy task to do. So I'm going to hide After Effects and double click on my 4.15.psd file, and it should launch within Photoshop. Now this is quite an easy task. Let's select the stamp tool, and you can actually do it inside After Effects as well, but I rather work inside Photoshop. I feel a little bit easier here, since this is just one frame. I think it's going to be a little bit faster. So just pick your point and start cloning and hiding this image until you get a nice white glass. And I'm not going to make you sit here and watch me do this, so let's just skip ahead in time to the place where I already finished this task. Okay, so here is our clean mug, our clean plate. You don't have to be pixel perfect here, just have to wipe out all the information, since we are going to cover it with new one. It just needs to look decent. Alright, so we can come back to After Effects and double click to import this. Let's just ignore all alpha channel information, just press OK, and just drag it to the timeline, making sure we are at the same frame. So our frame here was 4:15, and this should indicate the clean plate. Here inside After Effects, I'm going to use my pen tool and just mask out the area which I need to use here. So once again, you don't have to be pixel perfect, just make sure that you take the part that you need from the picture. After doing it, let's press F and just give it a little bit of feather, so it will integrate a little bit better with the frame. Now let's go to Mocha and track the first part. This is the tricky part where we need to make sure our plane is sticking to the glass. So once again, I'm going to hide After Effects and select my main clip here and right click on it and choose Open with Mocha AE. The dialog will come up, and just make sure that everything is okay, which means that the frame rate is the same, pixel aspect ratio is the same, and you can click OK. Here inside Mocha, it is a very easy task. Let's just make sure that we see our cup and select either the X or the B spline tool and just mark an area around the main part that you want to track. So something like this should work fairly good. From this point, I'm going to analyze backwards. So I'm going to press on this icon and let Mocha do its magic. Now I'm using Mocha since the cup here and the hand, of course, is going out of the frame. So this is all we need, something like this. I'm going to also trim this layer, and this is just to make sure that when I'm going to export the information, I don't get any frames that I don't need. So now let's go here and define our surface. And I know it's not a regular plane surface, which means that we need to warp it or distort it inside After Effects, but this area should give us enough information to work with. So something like this should work, and let's just check the tracking to see that it is working. Indeed, it's working. once again, I just want to make sure to trim the layer, so maybe from here, so I don't get any moving frames which I don't need. Alright, so we are ready to export the information from Mocha, but it will cause us a little bit of a problem because Mocha expects that the layer inside After Effects is the same dimension as the layer that we are tracking here. Just want to remind you that we already did some work inside After Effects and the layer here is waiting for us. It's already been trimmed, meaning it is masked. So I just want to show you quickly the problem and the solution. If we're just going to go to our first frame here and just making sure that the in will be 83 because this is what we have defined here. So just remember this number for now. I'm just going to export our tracking data. I'm going to choose the After Effects corner pin, the regular one, and just copy it to clipboard. Then let's go to After Effects. Make sure that we are on frame 83. And this is the same frame that we start our tracking, so somewhere here. And then let's go to edit paste. Now, if we're going to scrub, we can see that indeed we have a problem because the corner pin effect scales the layer, so it's going to fit inside the whole frame. And in our case, it's wrong. So we need to compensate somehow. So I'm going to undo. I'm going to come back inside Mocha. And before I'm going to do the export, just press on the align surface and Mocha will now take under consideration that we already have something ready inside After Effects and it will compensate automatically. This is just a great feature. I use it all the time. So let's go and export our new tracking data, copy it to clipboard, come back inside After Effects, making sure that we are on the correct frame, 83 should be good, and do Command or Control V to paste. And if everything works as planned, then we have our correct tracking data in place. So this is the first part of this. Let's just make sure that we enable motion blur here and in the comp, and just make sure that everything looks good. You might need to do minor fixes where the mask has a little bit of motion blur. So I'm going to press M and making sure that, let's say, I'm recording a keyframe for the mask here and just select the point here and move it just a touch so we will not see any leftovers from the original cap. And since this is moving so fast, I think that we are in a good state to continue with our design. Now, just before we are going to quit out of Mocha, let's also create here inside After Effects a new null object. And this will be our tracking data. And for this fellow, once again, I'm going to make sure that it is on the correct frame, which is 83. I can see the frames here. So for this guy, I just want to copy the transform and rotation information. So coming back to Mocha, once again, select export tracking data. And this time, let's just choose the After Effects transform data, choose copy to clipboard. Once again, coming back to After Effects and paste the information. Now, remember when you are doing things like this, you need to open the transform property and dismiss the anchor point and also right click on it and say reset. And this means that the anchor point will be at 0, 0, giving us the correct information in terms of X and Y. All right, so this is just waiting for us. For the moment, let's just turn off the eye for it and let's build our graphics. For that, I already started out with the mag tag graphics. So let's just open this composition. We can dismiss the action and title safe. And just for reference, let's just drop down our PSD file. And of course, we need to realign it. So just select both of the layers and let's just place them over here at the new location. Now, since I don't want this to render in our main composition, I'm going to right click on it and ask it to be a guide layer. Now we can come back to our Breakout coffee comp, drag down our mag tag, and now all we need to do is basically parent it to the tracking data. So let's just place it underneath, pick whip to the tracking data, and just before checking our result, let's just give it the shape of the glass. I'm going to do it quickly with the bulge effect. So just place it over here, and let's just play with the horizontal radius just to encompass everything, and just stretch the vertical radius and relocate our bulge center just like that. So I think it looks quite good. Let's enable motion blur and just play few frames from the beginning to see how it all merged together. And it looks very nice, but I think that if the text will draw itself on the screen while the movement of the head is putting it on the shelf, it may even look better. So let's quickly do it. Let's double click on this composition, and I'm going to use the stroke effect in order to do it. But before doing so, we need to prepare masks, because the stroke effect uses mask in order to draw its strokes. So I'll select the first text layer here, and under layer, I'll choose create masks from text, and I'll repeat the same stages for the second text. So selecting it and going under layer and choose create masks from text. Now After Effects will leave you with the original text if you need to modify it, but in our case, we only need to change the solid layer that was created for the masks here. So I'm going to choose a different color. Let's come back to our black color for both cases. So I'm going under layer, and in the solid setting, I'm just going to change it to black. Now let's start with the first text here, our best outline. I'm going to apply the stroke effect. So double click in order to apply it. Use all masks and change it to reveal original image. And then just thick the brush size so it will cover all the letters here, and we are going to animate only the end value. So starting from 0, let's create a keyframe for the end, and let's come back to our main composition, maybe after 4 seconds. So something around here, 4 seconds, let's be precise. We will return to our original comp here for the text and just slide the end value to 100. Maybe we'll need to modify it later, but something like this. Now here it says 1 second and 5 frames, and here it's actually saying 4 seconds. The thing is that After Effects remember the time code from our original composition, and if you want to change it, just in order for things to be a little bit more clear, I'm going to go to the composition settings, and instead of this weird start time code 2 seconds and 20 frames, I'm going to reset it to 0, so everything will be aligned. Okay, so now that we are on the same page here, 1 second and 5 frames, we can come back here and just check to see the first one. Okay, it looks good. Let's select the second and apply basically the same thing. In this case, we may want to take a different graphical approach, just something that will look a little bit more interesting. So let's try to create some kind of a cascade animation. First, let's turn on all masks. Once again, we'll reveal to original image and change the brush size and the end over time. So once again, let's start from the beginning. I'm going to start with something like maybe 3. Create a keyframe for the brush size and also for the end, and of course we're going to make it happen like this. So we're going to stroke it over time. I'm going to use the same timing, so just pressing U to reveal the keyframes from before, and then make it happen until 100% and maybe just until 5. So we have something like this. And now I'm going to duplicate this layer, press U in order to see the keyframes, and then just nudge it to the right a little bit. And here at the last end, I'm going to change the brush size until it will fill all the letters. So we'll have something like this, which is kind of nice. And if you see some kind of leftovers here, you can just scrub this brush size value just in order to make sure that it will not draw itself ahead of time. Yes, this looks like it's going to work. Okay, let's check it here in the main composition just to be sure that everything is timed as expected, and I think it does work very nicely. Now, in order to put a little bit more energy into this clip and make sense of the name, the Breakout Coffee, we need people who will perform the breakout. So let's come back to the project panel, and here I've got few clips which will transmit just this. And those clips are from the Rebit Films library, which is of course part of the huge Artbeats library as well. So just double click in order to show you they've got a couple of jumpers on a ramp. This is a first lady here doing her move, and this is a second one, and this guy also got some nice jump, very nice, and another one. All of them are slow-mo clip, and we will even need to slow them a little bit more. So let's just do a little bit of a house cleaning here, and let's create a composition that will host these jumpers. So create a new composition. We'll give it a 13 seconds duration. We'll use the same preset as before, and we'll name these jumpers and press OK. Now let's drag down the first one, and we'll need to time it a little bit in order to use it. So I think that maybe from here, and let's just press P in order to see the position, and we want to make sure that at the first frame we will not see her in the frame. So let's click in order to create a position keyframe, and then once she's getting to the full height, let's just bring her a little bit higher and just make sure that we are not seeing the ramp. So something like this looks good. Okay, let's drag the second person. Let's do the same, just make sure we will not see the ramp. Press P in order to see his position, and just close the eye that we will not be confused. And let's just look for a place that he's reaching high. So maybe something like this. Also, I'm going to create a keyframe here and make sure that here we are not seeing him. So this is his move. And the third one will do the same. So once again, lower her. And in this case, I think that we need to scale. I think she's a little bit big, so let's just do it now. Let's scale her, then reposition the ramp. Once again, decide where the first frame will be. So press P, record a keyframe, go to the beginning, and lower her. Next, we want to make sure that they will be spread out nicely in the glass or over the glass. So I'm going to press on the position word for the first lady here, drag my timeline over here, and make sure to enable the eye for the other layers, and scrub the X position, and this way we are moving both keyframes at the same time. So let's place her over here at this corner. We'll repeat the same steps for the young man here. Maybe we'll place him over at the left side of the screen. And let's just justify this lady and maybe drag her. And once again, select the position word and just drag her over to the right. So now we have a nice spread of everything. And I think it looks great. Maybe we just want to place her a little bit here. And I think that we've got a sufficient result. Now we also need to make sure that they will jump until the end of the composition. So I'm going to select everything here and press Command or Control Alt T in order to apply the time remap to everything. And then deselect and just drag the last keyframe of the time remap of each one of the layers until the end of the composition, and this way we are going to be able to see them. Okay, so we did a little bit of an extreme slow motion here, but it should work quite nicely. Now, in order to check it, let's return to the Breakout Coffee, our main composition, place our cursor over here, and then just drag down our jumpers onto this composition, scale it to a reasonable size, something like this I think should work. And then let's make sure that they are somewhere over here, and just scrub the timeline to make sure that we're seeing everybody here. And I think we are going to need to scale them even tighter. So something like this should work nice. Just want to make sure that we see their heads from time to time. And then of course we need to mask this composition and parent it to the tracking data. So parenting is very easy. Just pick whip to the tracking data that we have here. And to mask it, we'll just need to select the ellipse tool and just draw a shape around the edge of the cup. I'm going to zoom here a little bit inside my composition and just make sure that we have enough room here. And I'm going to tighten my mask to the edge of the glass. Just make sure to leave enough room, and to be on the safe side, I will press F and just feather the mask just a touch. So something like this. So let's check it to see if it's working. I think we have the expected result. So let's just scrub it, and I think I'm going to slide this layer just to begin when the glass is reaching its final destination here. So something like this. Once again, let's check it. I think it's working. Now we need to introduce shadows, a little bit of shadows on the tip of the glass here, just to make sure that it will be a little bit more convincing. We are going to achieve this shadow, this drop shadow, by using the radial shadow. So first let's duplicate our composition here, our jumpers. And here in the effects and preset, I'm going to start to type down radial. Double click on the radial shadow to apply it to the lower copy, and let's just use the shadow only mode here. And of course we only need to see the shadow inside the cup, but first let's just change the light source just above, so it will make a little bit more sense here. And in order to isolate the shadows, I'm going to use a Luma matte. So let's quickly create a new solid. Color doesn't matter, so we can leave it black. And just place it underneath. I'm going to hide the visibility for a moment. And also let's turn off the eye for the jumpers and the shadow. And just make sure to select the area where we want the shadow to appear. So something like this, I think. We might need to scale it a touch here. Okay, so this is our matte, and of course we need to tell this layer to use the layer above as a Luma matte. So select it, and then from this track matte menu, let's choose the alpha matte, and just for safety, let's press F and add a touch of feather here, just a little bit, in order to make it more convincing. And now in this level of zoom, I see that we do have to fix our initial mask. I'm going to rename this second layer here shadow, just so I know what it does, and come back to it and maybe add a bit of a softness just to make it a little bit more convincing, I think. And also let's lower its opacity just a touch. And it's always a good idea to change shadow to a multiply blending mode, just so it will stick a little bit better and we'll see the details behind it. I'm also going to marry this layer to the tracking data just to be safe. And now let's go to the beginning and zoom out a little bit and just create a short run preview just to check how everything is looking until this point. And I feel that the message is coming through. There is no doubt that we do need a break. However, I just want to show you few additional steps very quickly how we can even go and improve these results just by adding few more elements. So bear with me, it will be very quick. Few of the elements I already prepared ahead of time, so just want to show you what you can achieve. So first I just want to add some smoke steams here at the edge of the glass to marry everything a little bit better together. I'm going to my project panel, and here I have another clip from Artbeats, and this is from the Ultra Motion series. I'm going to play few frames for you so you can see this is a fantastic ultra slow motion clip of smoke. So I'm going to drop it to my composition under my tracking data. I'm going to press S to scale it. So maybe something like this. Let's place it in its appropriate place, maybe over here. I'm going to scale it maybe a little bit more and somewhere over here. Using the ellipse tool, I'm going to cut a hole here just to match the glass contours. So something like this. Then let's change the blending mode, of course, to maybe something like screen. And if you want, you can always go under effect, color correction, and maybe under levels. Just play with the levels of the clip. So we'll get a little bit more of those nice swirly smoke. And of course, don't forget to parent it to our tracking data null. And this should work quite nicely. So we have a little bit of a smoke coming out of our glass. And now let's also add maybe some kind of a text tag on the floor, something that will tell us that it is time for a break. In order to save some time, I did it ahead of time. So here is my take a break text plus an adjustment layer. So let's just grab both of them and place them on top of everything. I'll make sure that I'm going to select and open the eye just for the text so you can see what we have here. So very basic stuff, text on a path, which uses its first margin just to drive the text until its resting position. And of course, I try to mimic the perspective of the table here so it will match. We do need to fix the problem that the text is appearing here. We want it to appear behind the knob of the mug. For that, let's grab another copy of our video here and duplicate it and place it just above our text. And we'll use the Luma matte value for the text to be visible just where we want it. But first, let's just apply the level effect and just make the picture a little bit more contrast. So we'll have nice definition here at the edges. And now let's select the text here. And in this case, I'm going to use the Luma inverted matte option. And if I want, I can control it further by adjusting the gamma here under the levels effect. So I actually killing two birds with one stone. I think this looks quite nice. And now as a last touch, I want to add some kind of a natural coffee feel to this composition. For that, in the project panel, I already downloaded this clip, and this is a nice shot of a coffee pouring from above. I already placed it in this mag tag composition, scale it down, and did some kind of a color correction just in order for it to integrate to this composition a little bit better. And now we have some kind of a natural pouring coffee element here. Coming back to our main composition, it fits quite well. And there you have it. For everything to be combined together, I already have an adjustment layer in place. I will open it and show you that I have two effects, the tint and the curve effect, with a blending mode of multiply and an opacity of 50%. And this is just to give everything a little bit more of a contrast look. And that's it, boys and girls. We can return to the first frame, make ourselves a little bit more room to view it full screen and watch the final result, with my special narration, of course.
Try our Breakout coffee, the best. Take a break now.
So once again, we saw how fun and creative we can be using great footage from Artbeats.com to create a special commercial to our Breakout coffee brand. And now everybody, it's time to take a break. I hope to see you soon in another tutorial. Until then, this is Eran Stern for Artbeats.com saying goodbye.